It was a warm evening in June when I first set foot in Eldridge. The town lay nestled among the rolling hills of the Appalachian Mountains, far from the bustling cities and prying eyes. As I drove down the narrow, winding roads that led to this forgotten place, a sense of isolation crept over me. The air in Eldridge was heavy with the scent of pine, and the only sounds were the distant calls of unseen creatures and the creaking of ancient trees. The town square, if it could be called that, was adorned with faded storefronts and dilapidated buildings, bearing witness to the passage of time. As I wandered through the quiet streets, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The townsfolk, their eyes weathered by years of secrets, regarded me with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. Eldridge seemed to exist in a realm of its own, untouched by the hands of progress. As night fell, the silence became almost oppressive. The absence of the usual hum of electricity and the distant hum of traffic left me feeling isolated. Eldridge seemed to revel in its silence, as if the town itself held its breath, waiting for something unseen. Local folklore hinted at a history of strange occurrences, disappearances that left families shattered, and a lingering unease that clung to the town like a shroud. Eldridge had become a tapestry of forgotten whispers, a place where the past bled into the present, and the shadows held the tales of the departed. In the heart of this silence, I found an old inn where I decided to stay for the night. The creaking floorboards and the flickering lights added to the eerie ambience. As I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that Eldridge was a town with secrets buried deeper than its roots. Little did I know that my journey into this silent town was just beginning, and the whispers of Eldridge would soon turn into haunting screams that echoed through the very fabric of its existence. The next morning in Eldridge, the sun struggled to break through the thick canopy of trees that enveloped the town. I started my day by chatting with locals at the only diner in town, hoping to unravel the enigma that seemed to hang in the air. As I sipped on lukewarm coffee, the conversation drifted to a topic the townsfolk spoke of in hushed tones: the mysterious disappearances. The waitress, her eyes weary, shared stories of people vanishing without a trace. Families torn apart, friends lost to the shadows. Eldridge harbored a dark secret that defied explanation. The disappearances followed a chilling pattern, occurring every 10 years like clockwork. As the locals spoke, the gravity of their words sank in. Eldridge was a town haunted by a recurring nightmare, a cycle of loss that left its mark on the collective soul of the community. I decided to delve deeper into the town's history, visiting the local library where dusty volumes chronicled the past. An old journal caught my eye, its pages filled with accounts of disappearances that stretched back decades. Each entry was a heartbreaking tale of lives interrupted, and the common thread was the ominous silence that followed. In 1959, a young couple vanished on the outskirts of town. In 1969, a group of friends disappeared during a camping trip. The pattern continued, the pages of the journal telling a story of sorrow etched into the very fabric of Eldridge. I interviewed the few remaining elders who had witnessed these events firsthand. Their eyes held a mix of fear and resignation, as if the town itself had become a malevolent force. The disappearances were spoken of as a curse, a burden passed down through generations, staining the town's legacy. Eldridge's chilling secret became even more tangible when I stumbled upon an old photo album in the library's archives. The faces of the missing stared back at me, frozen in time. It was as if the town had devoured them, leaving behind only memories trapped in faded photographs. As the day waned into night, the weight of the town's history pressed down on me. Eldridge's enigmatic disappearances were the roots of a malevolence that lurked in the shadows, waiting for its next victim. Little did I know that my quest for truth would lead me deeper into the heart of darkness that Eldridge desperately tried to conceal. Driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to unravel the mysteries of Eldridge, I found myself immersed in the chilling accounts of the town's enigmatic disappearances. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the quiet streets as I continued my investigation. The old journal I discovered in the library chronicled a pattern that transcended mere coincidence. Every decade, like clockwork, Eldridge bore witness to a macabre vanishing act. The silence that followed each disappearance was profound, as if the town itself mourned the loss of its residents. My inquiries led me to a local historian, an elderly man named Mr. Wallace, who had lived in Eldridge his entire life. His eyes, clouded with age, held a flicker of fear as he recounted tales of the vanishing act that plagued the town. According to him, it wasn't just individuals who disappeared. Entire families had been swallowed by the shadows. The most disturbing aspect was the eerie calm that settled over Eldridge after each incident. It was as if an unseen force had imposed a vow of silence upon the town, forcing the remaining residents to carry the burden of an unspeakable truth. My investigation led me to a particular incident in 1979. The Carter family, well known in Eldridge, vanished without a trace. Their home, now abandoned and overgrown with ivy, stood as a silent witness to the inexplicable events that unfolded. Locals whispered of strange symbols found in the Carter household, as if a malevolent force had marked them for the vanishing act. As I explored the derelict house, the air felt thick with an otherworldly presence. The walls seemed to hold echoes of the past, revealing a family's life abruptly cut short. Organs. The vanishing act was a facade, concealing a gruesome reality. The silence that followed each disappearance was the hushed exchange of lives for profit, hidden beneath the town's quiet exterior. Photographs, medical equipment, and files scattered across the chamber painted a gruesome picture of the extent of the operation. Eldridge, it seemed, was not just a victim of a supernatural curse. It was a willing accomplice in a heinous crime that spanned decades. As I documented the horrifying scene, a noise behind me shattered the silence. I turned to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness, a resident of Eldridge, their eyes glazed with a malevolent intent. In that moment, I realized that the truth I had unearthed was a dangerous revelation, and those responsible for the vanishing act were not ready to let their secrets be exposed. With a chilling warning, the figure disappeared into the shadows, leaving me to grapple with the enormity of the crimes committed beneath Eldridge. The town's silence, it seemed, was not only a cloak for its own suffering, but also a sinister accomplice in the trade of human lives. As I fled the factory, the weight of the truth pressed upon me, and the ominous shadows of Eldridge seemed to reach out, threatening to consume anyone who dared to expose the darkness that lurked within. The revelation of Eldridge's sinister underbelly left me haunted and restless. The clandestine organ trade that thrived beneath the town's veneer of silence was a chilling reality, and my role as an unwitting witness placed me on a precarious precipice between truth and danger. As I delved deeper into my investigation, the shadows of Eldridge seemed to come alive, stalking my every move. Whispers in the night warned me to leave, and the once welcoming eyes of the townsfolk now harbored suspicion. The silent hunt had begun, and I found myself thrust into a dangerous game where the stakes were life and death. One evening, as I retraced my steps through the town square, a rustle in the darkness made me halt. The air was charged with an unspoken threat, and I could feel unseen eyes watching me. I quickened my pace, the echoes of footsteps matching my own, a silent pursuit through the dimly lit streets. The ominous warnings escalated. Cryptic messages appeared on my door, warning me to abandon my quest for truth. The town itself seemed to conspire against me, its silence a cloak for the malevolence that lurked within. Sleepless nights became my reality as I grappled with the silent hunt that pursued me relentlessly. Desperation led me to seek allies among the few souls in Eldridge who had not succumbed to the darkness. A hesitant informant emerged, a local who, too, had once dared to challenge the town's secrets. Their eyes betrayed the fear that gripped them as they spoke of a clandestine group orchestrating the vanishing act, wielding influence like puppeteers in the shadows. Armed with newfound information, I continued my pursuit of truth, guided by the fragile hope that justice could prevail. Yet, with each step, the noose tightened. I received veiled threats, warning me to silence the echoes of Eldridge's secrets or face the consequences. The climax of the silent hunt came when I uncovered a secret meeting place hidden within the dense woods that surrounded Eldridge. A gathering of hooded figures, their faces concealed, plotted in eerie silence. I watched from the shadows, my heart pounding as I glimpsed the faces of those who orchestrated the town's descent into darkness. The silent hunt had reached its zenith, and I realized that Eldridge's shadows were not just a backdrop. They were living entities, protecting the heinous secrets that bound the town to its unholy pact. My quest for justice had placed me squarely in their sights, and escape seemed impossible. As I fled the clandestine meeting, the hooded figures gave chase through the labyrinthine woods. The night echoed with the sounds of pursuit footsteps, labored breaths, and the crackling of leaves underfoot. The chilling reality of being hunted by those who thrived in Eldridge's shadows pushed me to the brink of despair. In the heart of that nightmarish chase, I understood that Eldridge's silence was not a mere absence of noise, but a deliberate act of suppression. The town's shadows sought to bury the truth in an unmarked grave, and as I evaded my pursuers, the weight of Eldridge's secrets pressed upon me, threatening to consume me in its silent, relentless grasp. The relentless pursuit through Eldridge's woods reached its climax, with the hooded figures closing in, their whispers merging with the rustling leaves. Fear gripped me as I stumbled upon an ancient, dilapidated mansion hidden within the dense foliage, the epicenter of Eldridge's darkest secrets. With the hooded figures mere steps behind, I pushed open the creaking doors of the mansion, hoping to find refuge within its decaying walls. As I entered, a dim light flickered, revealing a grandiose interior consumed by time. Paintings of ominous landscapes adorned the walls, and the air was thick with a sense of malevolence that transcended the physical. My footsteps echoed through the empty halls as I navigated the mansion's labyrinthine corridors. A distant chant grew louder, leading me to a chamber bathed in an eerie glow. The hooded figures, now encircling an ancient altar, chanted in a language unknown to me. Symbols adorned the walls, etched in blood, and the air pulsed with an unnatural energy. In the center of the room, an imposing figure emerged from the shadows, the orchestrator of Eldridge's silent symphony. The hood fell, revealing the face of the town's puppeteer, an influential figure, respected in the community, yet harboring a malevolent secret. The revelation sent shivers down my spine as the truth unfolded. Eldridge's residents, bound by an unholy pact, engaged in the heinous trade of human organs. The hooded figures were not just criminals. They were pillars of the community, architects of the vanishing act that shrouded the town in darkness. As the realization set in, I confronted the figure at the altar, a man whose eyes bore the weight of the town's sins. He spoke of an ancient pact, an agreement forged in desperation to preserve the town's existence. Eldridge, it seemed, was a place that thrived on sacrifice, where lives were traded for prosperity, and the silence that followed was the town's collective guilt buried beneath layers of deceit. A chilling ultimatum echoed in the chamber: join the silent pact or become the next victim. The hooded figures closed in, their eyes void of humanity, and I faced an impossible choice. In that moment, the darkness seemed insurmountable, and the threads of Eldridge's silent conspiracy threatened to entangle me forever. Driven by an instinct for survival, I made a desperate escape through hidden passages in the mansion, evading the clutches of the hooded figures. As I emerged into the cool night air, the mansion's silhouette crumbled behind me, consumed by an otherworldly force. Eldridge, it seemed, was a town that devoured the souls of its residents, feeding on the silence that concealed its darkest secrets. I fled the woods, leaving the malevolence of Eldridge behind, haunted by the knowledge that evil could find a home even in the most unsuspecting places. The final revelation of Eldridge's truth left me scarred, a witness forever changed by the silent symphony of a town that thrived on the sacrifice of its own. As I drove away, the echoes of the vanishing act lingered in the rearview mirror, a chilling reminder that some secrets were meant to remain buried in the silent depths of darkness.